Great to talk to you today. At the Female Lead, we're very passionate, obviously, about the strategy for violence against women and girls. I spoke to Minister Jess Phillips last year, and I spoke to the Prime Minister last week. So I've been getting lots of information and talking about the themes that really matter to our community. We had a comment from one of our community members, Beth, about reporting child sex abuse and actually dropping her support of the case. Is it a hope with sort of the new reforms taking place that for women like Beth, that won't be the case anymore? She said going through the justice system was as traumatic as the abuse itself, and support just wasn't there. So what are you doing now to make sure that doesn't happen again?
The system is completely failing if someone like Beth feels re-traumatised going through the process, if the process takes so many years that they say, you know, I just can't do this, because it means that your life is in standstill. And more than that, all of us as a society lose out because the offender goes on to re-offend because they're getting away with it effectively, and justice has not been served. So it's my determination to speed up the system. We're putting more money in, we're modernising the system, but we're also reforming the system so that for those, all crimes are terrible, but some crimes can be dealt with without a jury and should be dealt with by a magistrate or by a single judge, and that we're increasing the amount of crimes in that category so that, you know, if you suffered terrible sexual violence, a child or a woman, you get justice quicker.
And with the focus at the moment on the strategy for violence against women and girls, will cases be expedited that fall under that remit so that women will get that justice and get to trial much quicker? Is that a focus?
The hope is absolutely that we expedite the experience for people who have been victims of violent sexual crimes, and that their experience is timely. And we will throw everything at it to make that the experience. You know, just yesterday I was discussing with Sadiq Khan, who has a big commitment to halve violence against women and girls in London, how in London he can see those sorts of cases expedited. So we will do that to crack on and make the system better for those victims.
Sadly, my neighbour Izzy Knight was murdered by her husband last year, and he changed his plea to guilty at the last minute when it went to trial in January of this year. He was sentenced to 17 years and 1 month, and he will be out in his 50s. Is there a thought, or are we looking into longer sentences for these most violent crimes and murders of women?
There are longer sentences in our system for those who commit the most heinous crimes. There's an important interplay and role for the parole board, assessing whether someone should leave prison, whether they're ready, whether it's safe for them to leave prison. The bottom line is the system's got to command the respect of the public and public expectation as to the length of time you should serve if you've committed a heinous crime. And we've got to continue to keep the public safe. That's my job as Secretary of State for Justice. I take that deadly seriously. Sometimes it falls to me to consider these cases, you know, it weighs very heavily, but my primary goal is to be true to victims and to try and walk in their shoes.
One of the Female Lead's main sort of passions is looking at leadership and making sure women are represented in the rooms where it happens. So one of the things I read with interest this year is that female KCs have dropped to 15%, down from 26%. So female barristers for advocating in the Supreme Court of Crown Court have dropped. It's lower than it was in 2009. Is that something that you are aware of and looking at, of how can we make sure that women are in those rooms and there is representation at all?
Yes. I want to see more women who are judges, more women who are our senior barristers, more women who are our solicitors. The last Labour government made a big change on diversity, and we're going to push this again. We've got to see gender equity. When women are in the room, better decisions are made. I was raised by women because my father left me when I was 12, so I'm very committed. I consider myself a feminist, very committed to supporting women.